answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain. They're going to have a lot of pain. They want to sign it, I will tell you. They want to sign it a lot more than I do. I think that's what you want to hear, fellas, right? What you want to hear, a different tone. That's the only thing they understand. They don't understand it. We had 3 world-class destroyers go through the strait today. Any other country, under the circumstances, wouldn't have shot missiles at it and drones at it and these stupid boats that came at it. They got blown away in about 2 minutes. Their tanker got blown. You know what we did with the tanker? We didn't want to create an environment, so we shot out the rudder, and the tanker's going around, spinning around in circles. They should not have done that today. We thought they might. We didn't know, but we were prepared. They shot missiles. Every missile was knocked down. Every drone was knocked down. And the people that shot it are no longer with us.
Now, there you have President Trump on the latest in Iran. He keeps saying that I think we can have a deal within a week or so if they're going to be serious. But then again, they continue to fire upon Navy vessels, and we, in an offensive strategy, fire back and wipe them out. And then they fired up on tankers. And one tanker trying to get through the blockade, the U.S. fired upon, not to destroy it, not to cause an environmental hazard in the Strait of Hormuz, but hit the rudders. And then when you hear Trump say, now it's going around and around in circles, that pretty much describes where we are with Iran in talks, right? Around and around, and where it stops, nobody knows. But when the music does stop playing, Trump and the U.S. will have a seat. Iran will probably have to sit on the floor, which is fine by me. At least the Iranian leadership. I want to break it down because Iran is reaching out to others to try to cause more havoc. They fired upon a Chinese tanker. The Iranians fired on a Chinese-flagged tanker. That's not wise, not against China. Now, maybe they'll claim, well, we didn't recognize it. Right. You get a lot of goods from China. Munitions in the past, they're clearly marked with the Chinese emblem and flag. You know damn well you were hitting a Chinese tanker. We'll get into that in more detail. Welcome to hour number 1, Larry Connors USA, here on this Friday, May 8th, 2026. We're here every Monday through Friday for you from 6 to 8 p.m. You can watch the program very easy. You go to NewsTalkSTL Rumble, Facebook or Twitter, Larry Connors USA Rumble or Facebook. And everything goes up as a podcast later. If you miss anything, video or audio, it's available at NewsTalkSTL. It's available at LarryConnorsUSA.com. LarryConnorsUSA.com, where you can subscribe and we'll drop it into your mailbox every day. No cost, and we need minimum information just so we can have a connection with your email. And we do not sell your information to anyone. It's also available at Larry Connors USA Facebook. You go to any podcast outlet, you're going to find the podcast. We appreciate and like you using NewsTalkSTL or Larry Connors USA, Facebook or .com, but you make that decision. We will have the information for you. And with Larry Connors USA, as you know, every day you're going to get news, analysis, commentary, and what's that other word? Oh, yeah, education. You will leave this hour with more knowledge than you have right now. I promise you. Take notes. In our next hour, Texas reporting the highest crude export in history. Well, I thought we were losing all of our oil and gas and we're going to be doomed and in the dark and paying outlandish money. That's the Democrat line and lie. The Texas crude export now the highest in history. And you know why? Because they can't get anything through the Strait of Hormuz until now that we were escorting ships through, and now we're saying, look, we'll let any ships go as long as Iran doesn't try to stop them, but we will block the Iranian ports. And one other thing, in our next hour, what about those UFO files being released? What should you expect? What will be in them? The UFO story coming up in our next hour. And later in this hour, follow the money to the hate groups. It is not hard to find. Follow the money to the hate groups and some of the latest hatred being spewed across our nation in the name of, we're Americans, we believe in freedom for everybody, but not those people. That's not freedom. And our story behind the story. Like him or hate him, Ted Turner obviously changed broadcasting. That's our story behind the story tonight, Ted Turner. Now, an Iran update, as I said, and you heard Trump referring to that a U.S. fighter jet did basically disable 2 different vessels from entering the Iranian port on the Gulf of Oman in violation of our blockade. We still have the blockade in effect, but we're no longer escorting ships through. And you know what they did? Is he said precision munitions hit their smokestacks and their rudders. So all they can do is go round and around and around in circles. We could have blown it up, but it would have caused a massive oil spill. Trump did not want that. In the meantime, this story I mentioned a moment ago, and this comes from China, a Chinese news outlet reporting a Chinese-owned ship, openly marked as a Chinese ship, attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. This is days before the Iranian foreign minister is to visit Beijing to discuss his country's ongoing conflict with the U.S. I think the first thing on the table is, why the hell did you hit our boat? What kind of answer you think he's going to get? This ship in question, a Chinese-marked ship, departed the United Arab Emirates, which has been hit repeatedly by Iranian bombings. An anonymous source, and I should say an anonymous source, speaking to the Chinese news outlet, apparently on behalf of Chinese suppliers, lamented that this attack was, quote, psychologically very hard to accept. They didn't expect their, quote, friend to fire on them. That shows you the incredible, bizarre behavior and lack of alliance of Iranian regime leadership. Their only alliance is to Allah and jihadists to destroy their enemies, be they Jewish, Christian, or anyone. All right, I mentioned earlier that there's a report out of Texas by how much we're doing with Texas crude oil and how well it's going. Information comes from the National Energy Dominance Council Executive Director, Jared Agan.
Do not underestimate President Trump. Look at what he did with Venezuela. Look at what's happening at Trump speed in Venezuela. He had a meeting here just a couple months ago where he had all the big energy and oil and gas majors sitting in the White House, and he told them all, Venezuela, the biggest oil reserve on the planet, you got to go down there and invest. And look at what is happening just a couple months later. Exxon, Chevron is hitting record levels out of Venezuela. You've got a lot of independents, the Wildcatters. We were just down there. We signed 3 big deals with independents to open up production in Venezuela. So everything is moving at Trump speed. It's going exactly as the president predicted. And so I would say do not underestimate the president and his power to bring prices down. He's already done it once. He did it last year. We have full expectation the president can do it again. He knows how to do it. And by opening up things like Venezuela, he's going to do the exact same thing up in Alaska. We're making moves. And so Texas is rocking right now. Yeah. We are at the highest crude export in history. Now we're opening up Venezuela and Alaska, and you're going to see the same kind of production in those areas.
And more ships are coming from around the world to the U.S. to get their oil and gas. California, as I pointed out yesterday, I think that day yesterday or the day before, they got their last oil shipment through the Strait of Hormuz. A tanker arrived on the California coastline to unload something like 2 million barrels of oil. They have no more oil coming by sea. And the environmentalists in California, they've shut down all the drilling lands. They don't want to allow any more oil and gas leases within their control. And they're the ones who are causing the prices, average price, or at least the top price, one of the prices for California gasoline now, $8 a gallon. And 60+ cents of that is state taxes. And they'll be raising that as well. You watch. And MSN Now, one of the leftists that loves to try to destroy Donald Trump, they did what we call a people on the street interview or a man on the street interview. We used to take a subject and go out and basically stop folks on the street and ask, what's your reaction to this? And whatever the subject was, then we just played it back, unedited, and let it play out. Well, MSN Now thought they probably had a great idea. Let's go throughout Wisconsin, which looks like it's trying to go blue, and I'll explain why in a moment. But they were asking young people they found on the streets of voting age, apparently, what do you think about the Democrat Party?
How would you guys describe the Democratic Party right now?
Lost.
Incorrect.
Trying.
Confused.
I'll say struggling.
I would also say struggling.
Yeah, see, they didn't get any answers they expected. And I had a commentary running, was it today or yesterday, on that very point. Obama says the Democrat Party, there's not that much of a rift between the far leftists and the mainstream. I just don't think there is. And yet James Carville, who ran political operatives for Bill Clinton and others, says the party is like a bunch of people in a crack clown car. Echoing what those young people on the street were saying in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin in particular, as I noted to you the other day, there's a beer company owner in Wisconsin who, after the attempt on Trump, was talking about free beer the day Trump dies, by whatever means. And even added that, well, we almost had free beer, but the guy needs to be a better marksman. That kind of give me the word that I could say on the trash. I can say that one. And BS from the left is what continues to fuel the hatred in our nation. Wisconsin, this guy who wants to run as governor in Wisconsin, I'll be watching that race. And if you follow the money, you will find that Soros and others who hate Trump, hate America, continue to fuel the fires of hatred. But they're not going to take the blame. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mullen says the evidence is clear.
If you can figure out who's funding these paid protesters and these paid agitators, you can get them off the street. Democrats right now are supporting violence, and I can't understate that. I mean, you just saw, what is it, Jay Jones, the Attorney General in Virginia, that put out a text message and wanted to put 2 bullets in his opponent's head and also kill his children. And he went even further and he said he wanted to go pee on the guy's grave. He used another word, but I'm trying to be nice here.
Right.
You're seeing left-wing parties that are being well-funded by people that oppose the Republican Party and support the Democrat Party, which means they're funding violence, and they're showing up, they're protesting, they're paying agitators to show up, they're getting them gear, they're getting them gas masks, they're getting them riot vests, they're getting them helmets. It's extremely concerning to me, and so what we have in this administration is saying that we're going to follow the money and strip the funding, and by the way, we're going to prosecute those that are doing this work like this.
Yeah, and in fact, Lee Zeldin, our Interior Director, said there are schemes inside the environmental justice group funding activists, training more activists to lobby for more funds, and that means more hate. That's exactly what it means. I'm sure you recall so-called comedian Kathy Griffin. First time I saw her was on a Seinfeld episode, and I thought she did a very good job. I mean, when she's in her lane, being an actress and being a comedian. But remember, she's the same one that showed her Trump derangement syndrome by when Trump was first running against Hillary, holding up to be what appeared to be a bloodied head of Donald Trump, severed from the neck, blood dripping, and making that was a perfect image she wanted to present. And she got blowback so harsh, so bad. All of her events got canceled, and she had to cancel all other events, and she blames Trump. Trump didn't put up your damn post. You did. And she continues to go after Trump, everyone else, and that includes Charlie Kirk and his widow, Erica Kirk.
Who knows how many assassination attempts there could be just in the next day, or how many times Erica Kirk is going to switch from her sparkle pants to that weird video that she made. It's just bizarre. It's kind of a close-up, like a zoom-in shot of her face.
Nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable.
Wasn't that Erica Kirk video weird? Her being not girly and looking like, I don't even know what, like a sniper. She looks like she's going to an anti-ICE protest, which is something she would not do. Look, I'm done giving her a pass, all right? I knew Charlie Kirk. I did a panel with him one time.
You didn't.
And his squished-in face. And yeah, I said that because that dude was a straight-up Nazi. And that is my opinion. But, you know, the way we've deified him is bizarre. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, you are right about that. Is your opinion, saying Charlie Kirk was a straight-up Nazi, preaching Christianity, white Christianity. You didn't do that. And here's a perfect example, again, of someone who believes that they are so relevant and everyone will follow them. Mark Hamill, the Star Wars star. He had just been visiting with President Barack Obama and had a picture of him together. And then later Mark Hamill posted a picture of Donald Trump in a coffin with the words, "if only." He put that up after a meeting with Barack Obama, if only. Again, flashback, and he said, I'm sorry if people took offense. You're sorry they took offense? You meant to be offensive. How stupid do you think we are? Whatever level you think we are, you're wrong. The stupidity is clearly on your side. And in fact, I got more evidence of that coming up as we follow the money and we look at how they continue to respond to a Supreme Court decision. In particular, former Georgia governor, a congresswoman, I should say, Stacey Abrams, preaching racism. Whites, SCOTUS will steal all future elections. Really. And the story behind the story. Ted Turner. A lot to come. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
Another day must be another roofer in town. And John Beal and I were talking. He said, you know, every time you turn around, there's a new roofing company. Many of them have no idea what they're doing. And the statistics show that many will be out of business within 2 to 5 years. Who are you going to call to help you then? You need to remember only one name, John Beal. John Beal Roofing. You have a problem, he can take care of it. And we'll be here for you. John Beal Roofing. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Spring weather has everyone sneezing, even inside their home or building. Instead of saying Gesundheit, call Wellington Environmental to perform air tests to determine if mold levels are too high. Gesundheit is the same as saying bless you after someone sneezes, the German word meaning wishing you good health. Wellington Environmental can perform air testing that is simple, fast, and can identify issues keeping you from having good health. Wellington does the same for hospitals and nursing homes for indoor concerns. Give them a call. It's simple. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. Tell Cindy, I need air sampling. They've seen it all. They can help you. Next time you hear Gesundheit, think Wellington. Wellington Environmental. Be well with Wellington. True comfort is something you should feel every day in your home. It's the quiet of your mornings, the consistency of your indoor temperature, the way your home feels season after season. With Renewal by Anderson, from consultation through installation, everything is handled by one experienced team, built around your home, your schedule. Our exclusive Fibrex material, stronger than vinyl, built for extreme temperatures. And right now, you can save 20% off your entire project. Plus, take an additional $100 off every window and door, up to $1,000. 20% off the entire project. Flexible financing is available, but you need to call by April 30th. 877-WINDOWS. RenewalByAnderson.com. 877-WINDOWS. RenewalByAnderson.com. It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as Support Dogs for Our Brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
My parents grew up without the Voting Rights Act. My parents were born in 1949.
Yep.
They were born in 1949. They were in college before the Voting Rights Act passed. And what we have to understand is that there are no longer blue states and red states. There are authoritarian states and democracy states. There are states that do not believe in the right of the people to have a say, who want to aggregate power and foment corruption. And there are states that want to guarantee that in this country, we have free and fair elections. We have access to the remedies that democracy is supposed to deliver.
That is Stacey Abrams, former Georgia Congresswoman, and she's talking about the latest Supreme Court ruling, basically throwing out the Louisiana congressional map, saying you based this on racial profiling. Again, for a primer on congressional districts. Every state, as you know, gets 2 senators to go to the U.S. Senate. Every state gets a number of representatives depending upon how many exist in that state, how many live there. And this is supposed to be legal American residents, not illegals. But you flood a state with illegals, which the Democrats have been very active about doing it, and they end up getting counted in the census. So, see, we get more. No, you don't, because they're not here. They're not here legally. But you can't get that point across to many. They just simply want to continue to parrot that story. And each congressional district across the nation, I think, equates to basically around 850,000 in each district. That's what you're looking at. Whatever your state is, you divide by 850,000 around that number, and that's how many congressional seats you get, period. Next census, maybe you got more. But a lot of the census maps, or rather not census maps, but the political maps drawn out by blue states and even some red states were carving out sections that basically were racial profiling. And there's where Stacey Abrams is talking about on MS Now. My parents grew up without the Voting Rights Act. That's correct, because they were born in 1949. They did have it by 1965 when LBJ got it pushed through. Said they were in college before the Voting Rights Act passed. But we said, what she's pointing out, what we have to understand there, we no longer have blue states and red states. There are authoritarian states and democracy states. The authoritarian, to help you, that's the red. The Democrat states, that's the blue. Yeah. She said, but there are states that do not believe in the right of the people to have a say. They want to aggregate power and foment corruption. That's exactly what the Democrats have been doing by overloading states and census with illegals who should not even be here and not allowed to vote in a federal election. But they get counted in the census and therefore boost their number for a congressional seat. That's what they're after all the way around. Once again, Stacey Abrams.
Should be the law of the land. If you want protonatalism where women are relegated to simply serving as vessels for a man's intention, if you believe that white supremacy should be allowed to diminish the value of everyone else, then you want authoritarian states to win. But if you believe in democracy as the currency of America, then you want California and New York. You want every state that's willing to fight back to do so.
Yeah, that's what I want. But see, when she says every state to fight back, let me read her remarks again, because buried in there is her clear division of what she has in mind. She's saying basically, again, you're talking about a case where, quote her, if you believe that Christian nationalism should be the law of the land, I'm not promoting Christian nationalism. I believe our Christianity should be protected. And she said, well, you want women relegated to simply serving as vessels for a man's intention. Stacey, you're calling out Iran and the mullahs. That's what they really want. Is that what you want? I don't think that is. Of course, then she adds, if you believe white supremacy should be allowed to diminish the value of everyone else, you want authoritarian states to win because only black lives matter. That's what she's saying. And then she said, but do you believe in democracy as the currency of America? You want California and New York. You want every state that's willing to fight back to do so, like California and New York. She's holding them up as examples of true democracy. And I want to add something. I don't even know if she's aware of this. You know what the black census population is in the entire state of California? Less than 7% is black population. So she's not making really a case on behalf of the black people. She wants to throw minority and other, quote, minority levels in there, particularly Hispanic. That would boost that. But her specific remark is everything else would be white supremacy. So the blacks are supposed to set the balance. They're only 5 to 7% max in California. New York State, 13, maybe 17% of the entire population is black. In the meantime, Democrats have another court case they're all upset with. This is a Virginia Supreme Court today striking down a congressional map that would have netted them as many as 4 seats in the midterm elections. Democrats. So it's another big boost for Republicans' chances of keeping the House in November. Even some Republicans acknowledge we had to run the table in November to win now. And we're not talking about the midterm. They're talking about in November. In fact, one House Democrat speaking on the condition, do not use my name. Do not use my name. Don't tell anybody it came from me. He said, damn, California, Virginia were supposed to be our bigger ones. That means we're going to have to make sure we have a good wave to win the House. The blue wave, think that's going to happen in the midterm or the general. He said we have to make sure we win all the toss-ups. Democrats have to pitch a perfect game. Another House Democrat who said, do not use my name, but I have a one-word answer to this latest ruling by the Virginia Supreme Court striking down a congressional map. I can't say it. It starts with an F. It doesn't end with the word "in" like fun. I'll leave that for you to figure out. But then House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffrey, speaking on the record, said in a statement, we're exploring all options to overturn this shocking decision. And the Democrat Congressional Campaign Chair says in Washington, D.C., should D.C. is incorrect, Washington State, she's a Democrat, said, what happened in Virginia? This is a setback that sends a terrible message to Americans. The powerful and elite will do everything they can to silence you. Well, that's kind of what we've been talking about as we began the program. follow the money to the hatred that's going on, as we were discussing earlier. Somebody like Kathy Griffin and the others preaching hate, putting a photo of Donald Trump in a coffin and saying, if only, if only. So again, the Virginia Supreme Court has temporarily suspended that state's independent redistricting commissions. They were trying to turn their party's 6-5 edge in the House delegation into a 10-1 advantage. GOP lawmakers are looking to consider a slew of southern states based on a ruling by the Supreme Court concerning Louisiana. Now, again, according to the Democrats, they weakened the Voting Rights Act. No, they reinforced the fact you cannot gerrymander districts to make sure that seat is held only by a Democrat forever and ever and ever. Still another House Republican who didn't want to say anything on record, say, don't quote me. This is not good news. And still a fourth House Democrat, don't quote me. This is going to be deflating for some, but really it's just a reminder we're not invincible. Well, I'm glad you're taking that. And he added, Democrats cannot take a midterm victory for granted, added a fifth. I would reinforce that to say, neither can Republicans. Do not think all of this happening, be it at the state level or the Supreme Court level, means that Republicans are going to end up winning everything in the midterm. Do not buy into that story. You make sure that you're out there to vote and you're staying in touch with things. And keep in mind, this leftist money continues to flow in. Buying votes, votes being put aside, locked away, being brought out only when they have to need them. Otherwise, it's business as usual. We're in control. We're not going to change anything. What I want is a fair election. The Democrats that are going hair on fire out there, they want a rigged election, which they really got used to when Obama was in office in the Hillary thing, remember? Obama was aware the so-called Russian collusion, as he was told directly by the CIA director, that's all fake news created by the Clinton administration or Clinton campaign team for political hay. And he did nothing, not one thing, to stop it. Now who's trying to control the election? All right, coming up, our story behind the story. Today, the focus on a man who just passed away, Ted Turner.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
I want to share something with you. Cooking a pizza using coal creates an amazing pizza. Only one place to get it, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. Of course, they offer a wide variety of pasta, but you just visit the website NapoliSTL.com, dine in or take out, and get ready for patio season. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield Valley. Try it. You can thank me later. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. True comfort is something you should feel every day in your home. It's the quiet of your mornings, the consistency of your indoor temperature, the way your home feels season after season. With Renewal by Andersen, from consultation through installation, everything is handled by one experienced team, built around your home, your schedule. Our exclusive Fibrex material, stronger than vinyl, built for extreme temperatures. And right now, you can save 20% off your entire project. Plus, take an additional $100 off every window and door, up to $1,000. 20% off the entire project. Flexible financing is available, but you need to call by April 30th. 877-WINDOWS. RenewalByAnderson.com. 877-WINDOWS. RenewalByAnderson.com. When insurance companies know you're represented by Onder Law, they know Onder is not going to let you be pushed around. Their reputation is built on years of courtroom battles. If you suffer an injury or damage to your property, serve the insurance company notice. You have Onder Law on your side, a St. Louis firm you can trust to protect you at every term. Don't settle for less. You want to win? Believe me, Onder wins. Onder, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Now, Larry Connors with the story behind the story.
In 1970, Ted bought a struggling TV station.
It was a broken down UHF television station in Atlanta. He was going to transform UHF television into this new world of satellite television.
Ted renamed the station WTBS, and it became the country's first superstation.
What Ted made happen was just as important as the internet revolution of the 90s and 2000s.
But starting out, Ted needed content. He bought the Atlanta Braves and broadcast their games nationwide.
The Atlanta Braves.
The Braves became America's team.
When we bought them in 1976, they were terrible.
By 1995, Ted and his team were World Series champs. As he built the superstation, he set his sights even higher on a 24-hour news channel.
I worked till 7 o'clock, and when I got home, the news was over. So I missed television news completely, and I figured there were lots of people like me.
People did look upon that as a foolish idea that was destined for failure, but they underestimated Ted Turner.
Most of the leaders of the world thought Ted was nuts.
We sign on June 1, and barring satellite problems in the future, we won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, we will cover it live.
The remarks of Ted Turner about the CNN will be still on the air, and even when the world ends, we'll be there and we'll be covering it live. I don't care what you think of Ted Turner. You cannot diminish his impact upon broadcasting in general and news in general, and not just in the U.S., but around the world. And, of course, you have his politics on the other side as well. They were all innate, but at the same time, when he began CNN, it was to be a news outlet, giving news, not commentary, opinion, buried inside the news and sometimes right in your face while they're stating a misfact. Turner passed away a couple of days ago. He had a well-documented battle with Lewy body dementia, LBD. He disclosed his diagnosis to everyone in 2018. It said it gave him symptoms of exhaustion. He had forgetfulness, cognitive decline. It's a progressive neurological disorder similar to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and I don't wish that on anyone, even my worst enemy. But he announced that he had it, and at times had been misdiagnosed with manic depression. Again, this is a progressive brain disorder involving abnormal protein deposits that affect his thinking, memory, and movement. There is no cure. So he started spending time on his ranch. His daughter is saying he's battling through with courage and managing it. He fought it for 8 years before he passed away at his home in Tallahassee, Florida, 2 days ago, surrounded, they say, by family. It was the end of a long battle, and I truly feel for the man going through that and his family. I take no joy in that, nor should you. But then what he did to the broadcast operations, and on one side, a big plus. On the other side, a bigger minus. Let's begin with the plus side when he started CNN.
CNN aired its first broadcast on June 1st, 1980.
Good evening, I'm David Walker.
And I'm Lois Hart. Now here's the news.
It took 5 years to turn a profit.
I lived for 20 years in my office.
He was one of us. I mean, he would be in his house coat down having breakfast in the Hard News Cafe.
And we'll get better by the end of the week.
Critics called it chicken noodle news.
Hello, Baghdad.
But the Gulf War would give CNN the respect it deserved.
You can hear the bombs now. They are hitting the center of this city.
It was the first time a war was broadcast live on television, and it was only on CNN.
I still believe that that was the greatest scoop in the history of journalism.
You can see her there.
Ted didn't care as much about ratings as he did about being the most trusted name in news.
Ted also cared about the world. Over a 10-year period, he donated $1 billion to the United Nations.
I'm no poorer than I was not 9 months ago, and the world is a lot better off.
And he expanded his empire, launching networks like TNT and Turner Classic Movies.
And I will point out something. There was a time that at midnight when you had your basic 3 stations in your area, at midnight most of them went dark for equipment checkup and things of this nature. I was at Channel 4 at the time, a CBS-owned station, and they stayed on late with what was called the Bijou Movie Theater, if you remember that. And at one point they decided they were going to drop that because they just didn't want to continue it, and there were pickets outside. Shift workers from the auto companies in the St. Louis area, Chrysler and Ford, were picketing, as were the Playboy Bunnies. When they got off work, they had nothing to watch. Of course, nowadays you got, 5,000 channels, and you still can't find anything you're worth your watching. But at the time, CNN provided not only 24-hour news and making people like Wolf Blitzer through in the Gulf War heroes, talking about scuds falling and everything, but it created a fact that people will watch if you provide them. You can have a 24-hour food channel. Folks are going to watch a food channel for 24 hours. It may be the same after a period of time or not. He did this interview with CBS 60 Minutes, 2003.
I do not think my father was abusive. My father was a strict disciplinarian, but he and I were extremely close.
He used to beat you with a wire hanger.
With a wire coat hanger. He did several times.
And then the story goes that he made you beat him.
He did. He made me spank him one night. And that was very, very hard. And I was easier. It was much easier to be spanked than spank your father.
Then, when Ted was 24, his father committed suicide. And that is when Turner swung into high gear as an entrepreneur and budding tycoon. By 1979, when my colleague Harry Reasoner talked with him, Ted had already created the nation's first TV superstation.
Wayne, what do you think of this team? I like every one of them.
And he was the owner of the Atlanta Braves baseball team.
So he was making a lot of accomplishments. His father was successful until he fell into depression and then committed suicide. And, of course, Ted Turner married Jane Fonda, who later became a lightning rod for Vietnam.
Turner has been married and divorced 3 times, most recently to Jane Fonda, to whom he remains deeply loyal. I read something Jane Fonda had said about him. She has said, with all the love in the world, she says, he has been severely, hauntingly traumatized. He always thinks something is to be pulled out from him, with reference to your dad, maybe. He has no belief in permanency, stability. It is one reason I'm not with him.
I'm sure that she feels that way. She's told me that. I wouldn't say that I agree with that completely. I know that I have some insecurity problems. Most overachievers do. That I've had.
But he's had other problems that earned him those names: Captain Outrageous, Terrible Ted, and Mouth from the South. Much of it because he says what's on his mind.
Yeah, that he did. That's Mike Wallace in that interview, 2003. And Turner had made a remark about Christianity, which he admitted, maybe I did step over that line.
Christianity is for losers.
Terrible statement. I really regretted that from the time that it came out of my big fat mouth.
I believe that you should live by your word.
And there were others, like when he gave a speech some months after the World Trade Center disaster. Look, after 9/11, you said in a speech,
oh my God,
what was on your mind? And some had a problem with it. And you apologized after. We all expressed regret for it. But let me repeat what you said.
Okay, go ahead.
The 19 young men who blew themselves up going into the
Trade Center that our administration called cowards. I mean, how are you a coward when you're willing to die for your country? I mean, I think they were brave at very least, because I'm not going to fly my airplane.
Brave was a bad word.
Yeah.
But I do not think, because I know, for instance, my father committed suicide, and he was not a coward. He was very brave when he shot himself, in my opinion. So that's why, to a degree, I said that.
Nonetheless, he regrets he said it.
A lot of times, what you have in your mind is best left unsaid, particularly if you're trying to be diplomatic.
Trying to be diplomatic, Ted Turner?
I try and be diplomatic, I really do. Maybe I didn't when I was younger, but I'm certainly trying now, because, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But that's not really true. Words can hurt somebody.
You know, there's no indication that he ever embraced any religion. But we do have more to the story, behind the story.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com.
This is Larry Connors, USA. Larry Connors, USA.
Now, the end of the story behind the story.
Up until 5 years ago, I had one of the most incredible runs in human history. I mean, sports, with a baseball team winning the World Series, winning the America's Cup. I got a photograph of myself with the World Series trophy under one arm and the America's Cup under the other. I mean, nobody ever did that before. And I've started the first global network with CNN, and we got it in everywhere: Russia, China, Japan, you name it. And I went around the world marketing it myself. And I did a lot of neat little things along the way. But losing my job, losing my fortune, and having other personal problems of quite significant magnitude humbled me. Brought me down off my high horse, and I think it's made me.
It humbled you.
Yeah, it humbled you. You could be humbled. That was a Charlie Rose interview he did. And when he started CNN, he wanted the news, just 24-hour cable news network. But after he lost control of his corporation and no longer had a hand in it, he saw it changing. And under the current leadership, it has embraced an overwhelmingly left-leaning narrative, prioritizing advocacy over reporting. But again, it was a dominant force in cable news, especially during the Gulf War, 9/11. I mean, you could always turn it on, something's there. In a 2018 CBS Sunday Morning interview, the founder, Ted Turner, said, "I think the company is sticking with politics a little too much. They'd do better to have a more balanced agenda." He even recognized how far outfield they have gotten and why it cost them so much. But he had no hand in it anymore. And with his passing, Charlie Rose resurfaced to offer some remarks as an obit.
Ted Turner died May 6, 2026. He imagined himself a great man. He was in multiple ways. He created a huge institution, CNN. He changed things. After CNN, global news was not the same. He won things. The America's Cup in sailing is the fiercest challenge, not only against other sailors, but fast boats and the weather. He fulfilled other men's dreams, owning a Major League Baseball team and marrying a beautiful, smart actress. He was a rich man, owning companies and land worth billions of dollars. He was a good man, giving huge amounts of money to philanthropy. He was an admired man and a tragic man, climbing the tallest mountains and falling. He was there for all to see, brash, cocky, driven, opinionated, sometimes unpleasant, and full of himself. And yes, Ted Turner died knowing he had touched lives and made a difference. In the end, that is what makes a great life.
He did contribute a lot of money. He did to the UN and others, but mostly they were leftist organizations. And especially under Jane Fonda kind of guiding it, became more left and extreme. A side note, Charlie Rose, of course, had been in the past accused by 8 different women back in 2017 that he basically sexually harassed them and everything else. I can't have him appear on the air without pointing out that, according to some, he turned his CBS studio into a sexual hunting ground. Ted Turner was known as a hound dog in many ways. He had money, fortune, and women would come. President Trump made these remarks. He said, "I call Turner one of the greats of all time, one of the great of broadcast history, and a friend of mine." And yes, Trump has also faced such allegations. Always try to give you all the sides. Another hour to come. Remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can hear podcasts of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Beal to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Beal has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Beal. There's only one place you can get pizza cooked over coals, Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield Valley. Of course, Napoli Brothers has a great selection of pasta dishes. Between the pizza and pasta, trust me, you will not leave hungry. Then, a few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, a wide variety of quality cigars, each offering a unique smoke. That cigar, some premium whiskey, all you need to do is enjoy. Lit Cigar Lounge and Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, Chesterfield Valley. It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as support dogs for our brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Let's be candid, honest. No out-of-state law firm can represent you better than Onder Law. O-N-D-E-R. Hometown roots, attorneys living right here with you and your family. When you suffer an injury because someone else was negligent, Onder Law will make sure the other party takes full responsibility. You'll get full compensation, not a backroom deal worked out with some insurance companies. And of course, we're moving into the stormy season. And again, when you have a legitimate claim, you should be properly compensated. Onder Law does not toy around with adjusters, investigators, lawyers trained to cheat you of what is rightfully yours. Onder Law has already recovered millions for families across Missouri and Illinois. Onder wins. Not just a catchy phrase, it's a fact. So I'll repeat it. Onder wins. OnderLaw.com. O-N-D-E-R. Onderlaw.com. Wins.
This is News Talk STL.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
It's actually reprehensible commentary from the man who instigated the Russia collusion hoax, one of the most horrific things to ever be perpetrated on the country. He refused to accept his loss, and so he orchestrated this entire effort to run a coup against the incoming president. It caused so much trouble. There were so many people put in prison, political opponents, and it was all based on something he himself knew was a lie. I am glad that people like Ron DeSantis and Senator Eric Schmidt and Ari Fleischer and just a wide variety of Republican voices have condemned this lying from this former president. He did so much to destroy rule of law. Holding people accountable for what they did to the country is not lawfare. It's simply justice. And people of all types need to speak out against what he did and how much he destroyed the FBI, the DOJ, our intelligence agencies, and our whole conception of accepting elections when you lose. And I know he's sad that his party lost in 2016, but that's no excuse for the real destruction he wrought on the country.
That is Molly Hemingway. She is the editor-in-chief of The Federalist, a contributor for Fox News. She's talking about the 2016 Republican primary. That was when Donald Trump was in the running against Hillary. I want you to understand, in 2016, Molly Hemingway was a pronounced critic of Donald Trump. Not a big endorsement at any type. Not for Hillary either. But what she's talking about is how Obama, when he was told so-called Russian collusion that they were going to create, and they had created in the Clinton campaign headquarters along with the Democrat National Committee, they created the Steele dossier and all the lies about Trump and General Flynn and others. And Obama was told about it. He was told about it in an Oval Office meeting, which has been documented and confirmed. And in the meeting, Vice President Joe Biden at the time, FBI Director Comey at the time, Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General at the time, CIA Director Brennan, he's the one who told them the Russian collusion story, Mr. President, speaking to Obama, doesn't exist. He told them that in the Oval Office. It doesn't exist. It is a fabrication of the Clinton campaign. They created it for political action against Donald Trump, to swing the election, to protect her. So Obama was told directly, and he did nothing. He did not say, you're not going to be allowed to continue that. We need to make sure the public knows so this will be a fair election. Nope. He just kind of let it go. And Molly Hemingway saying, when you hear Obama now talk about free elections and we want to make sure every voice is heard, she's basically saying he's a liar. And we all know it. And if he continued, his nose would be 40 feet long, in my opinion. Molly Hemingway has out a new book now based off of in part, it might include the Louisiana ruling, but it came out before that. But basically, a detailed look at Justice Samuel Alito. Got released last April, a month ago, not even a month ago. And she portrays Alito as a consequential yet reserved force in reshaping the court. And it provides a behind-the-scenes insights into the major Supreme Court case, including revelations of that leak Dobbs v. Jackson regarding abortion, overturning the Roe v. Wade case. And it got leaked. Never heard anything else about that, have we? Now, her book, I've not had a chance to read it, but others who have, and reviewing it and commenting on it, say it's a conservative viewpoint, highlighting Alito's efforts to align the court with a strict interpretation of the Constitution. I'll leave it to you to read her book and see what you think. Again, it's titled by Molly Hemingway of the Federalist, Alito, the justice who reshaped the Supreme Court and restored the Constitution. Now, I think Clarence Thomas should be there right there beside him, but she focused on Alito. Welcome to hour number 2, Larry Connors, USA. We're here every Monday through Friday for you from 6 to 8 p.m. And when we're on the air, we're streaming video. You can watch the program. You go to NewsTalkSTL Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter. Larry Connors, USA, Facebook, or Larry Connors, USA, Rumble. I meant to mention that on NewsTalkSTL, too. Go to NewsTalkSTL Rumble. You'll find it as well. And if you miss anything, it's going to be available later in a podcast. I want to encourage you to look that up if you miss any part of any program. And let me take a moment to remind you what's coming up not too far away now. Here we are, May 8th, in less than a month, at Lindenwood University. St. Charles County executive candidates will meet for a debate on that Tuesday, June 2nd, on the Lindenwood University campus. We will be carrying it live on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. And, of course, you can use your phone as your radio. Get the free app, News Talk STL. So if you're not even in the area, you can hear the debate. They will take over the 8 o'clock hour. So on that date, on June 2nd, Larry Connors USA will air only 1 hour. So we can then switch you to Lindenwood University for the debate between the 3 candidates in the St. Charles County executive race. Current County Executive Steve Hellman challenges former Missouri State Senator Bill Engel, and Jason Law, former mayor of Lake St. Louis and current lieutenant colonel with the St. Louis County Police Department. Jamie Allman will be the moderator. Panelists will include Mike Ferguson of the morning show, and also Susie Moore is on the morning show, and also editor of Red State, and Dan Fox, managing editor of Mid Rivers News Magazine. If you can be there, it costs you nothing to go to the Lindenwood campus and take part in watching this debate live, June 2nd. But if you can't, you can remember that you can listen to it right here on News Talk STL. You think it's a ways off, but this year is zipping by, is it not? Coming up in our second hour, because I remind you with Larry Connors USA, you're always going to get news, analysis, commentary, and education. And part of the education in this hour will be UFOs, or some now call them UAPs. Files being released. Now, I'm looking at some of the files and reports and the analysis of them. I haven't seen them directly. I'm relying on other sources and what they're reporting. I don't see any green men indicated so far. I do hear concerns, and maybe either within these reports or some reading it, that the reason some had been held all this time, and maybe is this everything being released, is because maybe we fear or even believe that those from other galaxies have invaded us from time to time, maybe still do, and they possess weapons far more powerful than we have. We do know that some of the UFO sightings are amazing, and they've been caught on Air Force fighter pilot jet radar and on video, and moving at speeds unheard of, and making abrupt maneuvers that we cannot do. Even one U.S. Navy admiral stated that something was traveling under the water at 200 miles an hour. He said, we have nothing that can do that. We will discuss that before we wrap up this hour. In the meantime, I want to turn back to politics. And I keep in mind, and I tell people all the time when they ask, what do you talk about? I said, whatever the hell I want, because I'm the host. And yes, it does involve a lot of politics, because nowadays almost everything does, or it touches it. Be it the war in Iran, that's a political decision, and you hear the political left complaining about all the time, saying Trump doesn't know what he's doing, but at the same time, they don't know what to do. And they created it through Obama. So politics is linked into everything. You want to buy an ice cream? What flavor are you going to get? That might indicate you're a racist. Have you thought about that? We don't go that far, but we try to give you a top skim of main things and do deep dives on others. But in the state of Florida, a man is stepping forward to say, I'm ready to run to be the next governor of Florida. Congressman Byron Donalds.
After a lot of prayer, a lot of thoughts with my family and my friends, I'm here to announce my candidacy to be the next governor of the great state of Florida. We have a wonderful state. I got to Florida when I was 17 years old off of a Greyhound bus with just a trunk full of clothes. And over the rest of my time in Florida, I built a family. I built a career, 17 years in financial services. I joined the Tea Party movement, was in the conservative movement. I was able to serve 4 years in the state legislature, 4 years in Congress. And I think now is the time to now take the mantle and lead our state into the future. We have a great governor. Ron DeSantis has done a tremendous job for our state. But now the job is to keep the best state in the country as the best state in the country. And so that's going to be the mission at hand. And I'm excited to announce my candidacy.
And should I point out that Byron Donalds is a black man? It really has no bearing. He shouldn't. But a black man might well be the next governor of Florida, which flies in the face of what you're getting from former Congresswoman Stacey Abrams, who wants you to believe that everything that's taking place right now is to rig the vote so no black person can vote, much less be elected. Again, keep in mind, Stacey Abrams was a Congresswoman, but listen to what she said about where we stand right now regarding freedom of vote, especially for minority, especially the black vote.
My parents grew up without the Voting Rights Act. My parents were born in 1949.
Yep.
They were born in 1949. They were in college before the Voting Rights Act passed. And what we have to understand is that there are no longer blue states and red states. There are authoritarian states and democracy states. There are states that do not believe in the right of the people to have a say, who want to aggregate power and foment corruption. And there are states that want to guarantee that in this country, we have free and fair elections. We have access to the remedies that democracy is supposed to deliver.
So does everyone else. But she wants you to believe that if you live in a red state, you probably don't have that opportunity. I just let you hear Congressman Byron Donalds of the red state of Florida say, I'm running for governor. And he's already got a lot of support. He's serving as a congressman now. And we have a lot of black congressmen and women across the nation that are not of the Democrat color. I threw color in there, didn't I? They believe color has no bearing on the man nor woman. It is what you can achieve and do, and if you're qualified. But again, Stacey Abrams wants you to believe the most recent ruling by the Supreme Court, focusing on the Louisiana district map, saying that your congressional map is based on racial profiling. You're going to have to throw it out and draw it all over again. She wants you to believe that is an example of Christian nationalism.
If you believe that Christian nationalism should be the law of the land, if you want protonatalism where women are relegated to simply serving as vessels for a man's intention, if you believe that white supremacy should be allowed to diminish the value of everyone else, then you want authoritarian states to win. But if you believe in democracy as the currency of America, then you want California and New York. You want every state that's willing to fight back to do so.
Yeah, but California and New York, she's trying to say they will represent the black. Do you know in California, they have a total of about 7% of the population is black in California. In New York State, about 17% at the top are black. So that's not going to be enough to swing any election. But she wants you to believe, well, it's a blue state, so that must be the right thing to do. And in the beginning, she said, if you want a place where women are relegated to simply serving as vessels for a man's intention, she's trying to refer as that would be white supremacy. Stacey, do you know that's the tenet of Islamic religion? Women are chattel. Women are slaves to the men. Women must cover their bodies except for their eyes. You think that those women are anything other than vessels for a man's intention? You're not calling that out, are you? No, you're silent on that. How about an update on Iran?
The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain. They're going to have a lot of pain. They want to sign it, I will tell you. They want to sign it a lot more than I do. I think that's what you want to hear, fellas, right? What you want to hear, a different tone. That's the only thing they understand. They don't understand it. We had 3 world-class destroyers go through the strait today. Any other country, under the circumstances, wouldn't have shot missiles at it and drones at it and these stupid boats that came at it. They got blown away in about 2 minutes. Their tanker got blown. You know what we did with the tanker? We didn't want to create an environment, so we shot out the rudder, and the tanker's going around, spinning around in circles. They should not have done that today. We thought they might. We didn't know, but we were prepared. They shot missiles. Every missile was knocked down. Every drone was knocked down, and the people that shot it are no longer with us.
So, yes, once again, the U.S. did fire upon Iranian targets. And Secretary of State Rubio said yesterday, we're not waging war on Iran, we're not attacking, but we will defend ourselves and those we think need defending. We will play defense, not offense, unless you cross the line. But if you listen to the left, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to wage war, thought he didn't want war. He doesn't. He wants to bring peace to that entire region, which means the world. And part of it, the initial point being, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, period. In the meantime, oil is not leaving Iran. We may not be blockading the strait anymore, but we're basically not letting their ports open up. Their ports cannot send ships out, nor bring ships into their ports. That's a good point. I'm glad to see we're doing that. And the hatred that exists in our nation, you start following the money, and it's no surprise where it comes from, but how that money can be used to create crime and chaos against Americans. Lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
Spring weather has everyone sneezing, even inside their home or building. Instead of saying Gesundheit, call Wellington Environmental to perform air tests to determine if mold levels are too high. Gesundheit is the same as saying bless you after someone sneezes, the German word meaning wishing you good health. Wellington Environmental can perform air testing that is simple, fast, and can identify issues keeping you from having good health. Wellington does the same for hospitals and nursing homes for indoor concerns. Give them a call. It's simple. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. Tell Cindy, I need air sampling. They've seen it all. They can help you. Next time you hear Gesundheit, think Wellington. Wellington Environmental. Be well with Wellington. McGuire Moving is silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com. John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check Vincent'sJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. Vincent'sJewelers.com. Vincent'sJewelers.com.
This is News Talk STL.
There's pigeons down on Market Square. She's standing in her underwear, looking down from a hotel room. The nightfall will be coming soon. Oh my, oh hell yes. You got to put on that party dress. It was too cold to cry when I woke up alone. I hit my last number, I walked to the road. Let's dance with Mary Jane. One more time to kill the pain.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
If you can figure out who's funding these paid protesters and these paid agitators, you can get them off the street. Democrats right now are supporting violence, and I can't understate that. I mean, you just saw, what is it, Jay Jones, the Attorney General in Virginia, that put out a text message and wanted to put 2 bullets in his opponent's head and also kill his children. And he went even further and he said he wanted to go pee on the guy's grave. He used another word, but I'm trying to, be nice here. Right. You're seeing left-wing parties that are being well-funded by people that oppose the Republican Party and support the Democrat Party, which means they're funding violence, and they're showing up, they're protesting, they're paying agitators to show up, they're getting them gear, they're getting them gas masks, they're getting them riot vests, they're getting them helmets. It's extremely concerning to me, and so what we have in this administration is saying that we're going to follow the money and strip the funding, and by the way, we're going to prosecute those that are doing this work like this.
Good, we should. That is our Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mullen. Following the money shows it's going into groups. It's not a grassroots campaign. When they're organizing people, when they're busing protesters in, when they're providing them helmets and protective covering, and all the signs look the same, you know there's organization behind it. They want you to believe these are American citizens just deciding we've had enough, we're going to stand up and fight against it. No, this is an organized campaign, and it is aimed at destroying democracy, to take over our republic. If some of you listening think I'm going over the edge here, maybe we need to send you to, like they used to do in Cambodia, to a reindoctrination camp, because you are lost. These folks want to destroy this country. And the other part of it is they hate Trump so much. I point out to you previously that you had Mark Hamill, who had been one of the stars of Star Wars, and right after visiting with Obama, pictured him visiting with Obama, put up a post of Trump in a coffin, with the words, "It's over," or something like that. I don't even remember now what the words were. But when he got the backlash of it, you know what he did? Oh, I think you guys took it the wrong way. There was no other way to take it. Every time you push back on these people, they suddenly start recalculating, realizing that maybe they stepped over the edge a little bit too much. And I'll give you another example. I'm sure, and I'm going to offend those of you who listen to this program and you're a big host of Whoopi, or rather a supporter of Whoopi Goldberg and The View. I know you're not, but she is saying that the Trump administration is creating, and her quote is, generational destruction. Generational destruction. Where's all the violence coming from? We'll look at some Hollywood elites and so forth who think that they are so special. Kathy Griffin being a perfect example. Remember Kathy Griffin when she posed with what appeared to be the severed head of Donald Trump, smiling? And then when she was canceled from programs and things where she was going to go perform as, quote, a comedian, she blamed it on Trump because the nation as a whole didn't like that. Even those anti-Trump didn't really like that, most of them. But some did. They thought it was funny. Ha! Kind of like Colbert the other day talking about Melania appears to be with the glow of an expectant widow. And, of course, Charlie Kirk was assassinated by someone who believed that he was a Nazi and thought if I can kill him, the world would be better off. Now, I was thinking about this on the way in. Riddle me this. What would have happened to the world if the mother of Adolf Hitler had either aborted or miscarried him? There might have been some other demon rise up, but it would not have been Adolf Hitler, and then leading to the extermination of 6 million Jews, men, women, and children. And I talked about that yesterday in our story behind the story with the official unconditional surrender of the Germans on World War II. If you missed that, go back and pull up the podcast from yesterday. The story behind the story always appears at the end of our 6 o'clock hour. And talked about how the lieutenant colonel, sent behalf of the Nazis to negotiate with Ike, but basically to stall as he could. Ike would not even see him. He sent out his aide to deal with him. And this general thought, I should be treated like a man, a general, a leader, sit down, have a brandy, and have a gentleman's peace. No. Ike didn't even meet with him until after he'd signed, and then he was sent in to meet with Ike. He stood at attention, snapped his boots together, slapped a salute up, and Eisenhower just looked at him, didn't even bother standing. And basically told him, you're a worthless piece of no good. And when the commander saluted again to turn to leave, Ike did not even return a salute, just kind of waved at him, just dismissing him. But that is the attitude we've had among many on the left. They think that we can say and do whatever we want and get away with it. And Kathy Griffin learned the hard way, and she continues to flail away as if she can restore her dignity, nor her pride, nor her money, thank goodness. She's going to pay the price, and I'm glad she is. But now she wants to attack the widow of Charlie Kirk.
Who knows how many assassination attempts there could be just in the next day, or how many times Erica Kirk is going to switch from her sparkle pants to that weird video that she made. It's just bizarre. It's kind of a close-up, like a zoom-in shot of her face.
Nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable.
Wasn't that Erica Kirk video weird? Her being not girly and looking like, I don't even know what, like a sniper. She looks like she's going to an anti-ICE protest, which is something she would not do. Look, I'm done giving her a pass, all right? I knew Charlie Kirk. I did a panel with him one time.
You did not know him.
And his squished-in face. And yeah, I said that because that dude was a straight-up Nazi. And that is my opinion. But,
right.
You know, the way we've deified him is bizarre. I've never seen anything like it.
Now, I'm glad she added that's the way I see it. It's her opinion. It's her opinion. And like every person, everyone has you have an arse. Okay? You can speak from it as she did, or you can try to get yourself on level ground. But Whoopi Goldberg on The View said Donald Trump blew up their nuclear potential, talking about Iran. It was obliterated. We would have had a rat and Iran with a nuclear weapon. Maybe we wouldn't all be here right now. But I can tell you the Middle East would have been gone. This is what Trump was saying. We obliterated it, and I can tell you the Middle East would have been gone. Israel would have been gone. And Goldberg said somebody needs to tell Trump and Marco Rubio this is a generational destruction going on. If they had no problem with destroying generations of Jews. She said, this is on y'all. This is yours. You can't keep throwing Biden out there. This is yours. You're in there. What's going on? And her co-host, Joy Behar, said, it's like the Three Stooges of the apocalypse. And Goldberg said, I need that T-shirt. These are true idiots. By the way, public school teachers in Minnesota under Governor Tim Walz, they're now required to, according to State Senator Mark Corrin, to deal with an education ruling and standard that is absolutely eroding teaching. Teachers hoping to be licensed by the state of Minnesota must demonstrate they have assessed, quote, how their biases, perceptions, and academic training may affect their teaching practice and perpetuate oppressive systems. Now, that'd be good if they're trying to stop that, but what they're trying to do is double down on it. Oh, we want you. If your teaching will do that, we want you in front of the students. We want you to preach prejudice, discrimination, and racism. Back to the quotes we took yesterday from Alan Dershowitz, saying, I've been a Democrat for 70 years. I'm 87. I don't have the strength I did when I was 47, but I'm going to use every bit of strength I have to oppose the Democrats. I am scared of them. And the idiocy that exists out there, we should be. They are hell-bent on the far left to destroy America. In the future, we're going to look back and think this was a period of wackos. And hopefully, we will look back sooner than later. Coming up, what about UFOs? And what does the FBI know about Germany and the UFOs? Stand by, please.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
When insurance companies know you're represented by Onder Law, they know Onder is not going to let you be pushed around. Their reputation is built on years of courtroom battles. If you suffer an injury or damage to your property, serve the insurance company notice. You have Onder Law on your side, a St. Louis firm you can trust to protect you at every term. Don't settle for less. You want to win? Believe me, Onder wins. Onder, O-N-D-R, underlaw.com. McGuire Moving is silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com. When I have business clients or guests from out of town, I often take them to Cafe Napoli. I know they're going to enjoy any of the Napoli locations. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, next to Napoli C, Napoli Kirkwood, or Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Excellent food and intellectual conversation, if they bring the intellectual conversation. And NapoliSTL.com. NapoliSTL.com. You should know that when I endorse Wellington Environmental, it's because I believe and know they will do you right. Wellington takes pride in providing homeowners and businesses whatever they need. You need some dustless blasting, they will take care of that. You need some mold remediation, they can do that. They take pride in training their team to perform multiple services and having the equipment ready to get jobs finished. That's important to you. You make just one call, and you call a company that's been around for more than 35 years with more than 45 technicians in the field. Most of you know finding good workers, then having them show up on time could be difficult. Not for Wellington Environmental. They're there at the designated time, ready to go. Check them out to see what they could do for you. Dustless blasting or anything else you need. Wellington Environmental, 314-644-4930. 314-644-4930. Be well with Wellington.
This is News Talk STL.
Must be the whiskey. I've been drinking to remember and drinking to forget. I love you on my mind. I got Jim Beam on my breath, and loneliness has got the rest. I've got nothing left within me. It must be the whiskey.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Welcome back. Do you believe in UFOs? Now, the clear definition of UFO is an unidentified flying object. You see it, but you don't really know what it is. It doesn't appear to be a plane, doesn't appear to be anything you know. It's not a balloon in your view. It's unidentified. Now, of course, now they're using the term UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. That can include the borealis, anything that in the sky you see that, what is that? Well, as you well know, President Trump today said we're releasing everything we've got. In the big picture, according to one report, there are no clear photos of little green men or flying saucers, but it fulfills the president's order to release government documentation related to aliens and UFOs. And, of course, the attitude is that you take a look at it, you view it yourself at the FBI, NASA, State Department, DOD document sites. And one includes a series of eyewitness accounts from federal employees who observed orbs in the dusk sky on 2 separate days in the western U.S. Even images captured around Apollo 17 and Apollo 12 moon missions. Defense Secretary Hegseth, let me correct that, Secretary of War Hegseth said, these files hidden behind classification have long fueled justified speculation. It's time the American people see it for themselves. And then you decide. You decide. If you're a UFO enthusiast, impossible maybe not to be, as one writer says, maybe you got a treasure trove of material to use. In a post today, the president had stated, we are focused on spending or providing maximum transparency to the public who can ultimately make up their own minds about the information in the files. The Pentagon, the White House, Director of National Intel, the Energy Department, NASA, FBI, all taking part in this. Documents have a lot of black and white imagery of flying objects. Statements displayed typewriter-like font. 162 files, old State Department cables, FBI documents, transcripts of NASA crew flights into space. One document detailing an FBI interview with someone identified as a drone pilot who just in September 2023 reported seeing a linear object with a bright light enough to see bands within the light in the sky. And it was visible for 5 to 10 seconds. The light went out, and the object disappeared. What was that? I don't know. Another file showing a photograph from the Apollo 17 mission back in 1972. 3 dots in a triangular formation. In a caption, the Pentagon said there is no consensus about the nature of this anomaly, indicating it could be a physical object, but they didn't know. Pentagon had been working on declassifying documents to the UFOs for years, and in fact, UFO did create an office in 2020. I say UFO Congress created an office in 2022 to start declassifying it. 2024, we got a debut report. And now all the files released today, supposedly that's everything, including 46 UAP videos, unidentified aerial phenomenon photos identified by whistleblowers. And Luna did say on social media today, those have been seen by just a small group of Congress right now, but they will be released in a later Pentagon release. Congressman Burchett thanked Trump for keeping his word on the transparency. Again, the Pentagon's 2024 report rebutted any claims the government has recovered alien technology or confirmed evidence of alien life. Barack Obama, in an interview not too long ago, said, I believe they exist. I believe they do exist. But I've yet to see any little green men, and they weren't at Project 21 or wherever. But he's still accepting, something's out there. And I will have to agree, we did not know until, I would say, fairly recently in history, based on our history as a whole, that we were not the only universe. We're not. Others exist in our galaxy. We don't know much more about them. But keep in mind, we're seeing stars, finding stars, maybe in the future a planet that we didn't know existed, and yet it's been there all this time. But here's one interesting piece. The documents released today include multiple pages, including a tip about a possible Nazi UFO craft. The document reads in part, let me read this to you. Are you listening? Are you listening? Okay. You little green men, you listening to, oh, you already know it, never mind. During this period, he, talking about a man named Paul Pierriol, claiming that the Nazis built a craft in the Black Forest of Austria back in 1944. He says during this period, he observed the aircraft as a saucer-shaped, 21 feet in diameter, radio-controlled, mounted several jet engines around the exterior portion of the craft. He further described the exterior portion as revolving around the dome. The center remained stationary. It was his responsibility to photograph the object while in flight. Supposedly, he retained a negative of photographs he made at 20,000 feet. A Xerox copy of the negative he furnished appears was on the last page of his communication. Also, a still photograph he allegedly made, quote, at the risk of my life, illustrating it parked in a hangar. That appears on the last page. Again, according to him, the craft was designed and engineered by a German engineer whose present whereabouts, he said, is unknown, although I know that he was taken into custody by the Allied forces on the end of World War II. He said he's tried unsuccessfully to find the guy. Never has. He said, I do know the guy had tried to avoid the German draft at the beginning, but was apprehended by the Gestapo and probably put to work by the Nazis, create us a UFO. We know the Nazis were always looking for a weapon that would be so destructive that they would control the world. As you well know, we took several Nazi engineers and scientists to join us and then start the Manhattan Project and build our nuclear bombs and weapons. Operation Paperclip. We do know the Nazis did produce some unbelievable weapons and technology for that time, the V-2s that they would fire into England and elsewhere. And the Messerschmitt 262, an incredible invention for the 1940s, flying around us like crazy and unable to deal with it in the eye and in the air and in the combat. But finally we got the upper hand, the Mustang in part, and others. There's no doubt that other governments have dabbled in this and try and see what they can do. There's no doubt we have. If before the stealth bomber was made public, if you were in a position somewhere and you saw it flying between you and the moon, that would be unbelievable. It looks just like a large wing flying through the air. Maybe a boomerang that had been thrown in the air. Where's it going to go? Back to you or where? There are a lot of things we do not know. And I have solace in the fact that God tells us there are a lot of things we will never know until the right time. But these kinds of things developed by men are not the same as from another solar system or wherever. Do you believe? I was trying to line up George Noory for today. He has a program, as you well know, Coast to Coast, which deals extensively with UFOs and other paranormal, but he had other commitments he couldn't. I'm going to try to have him on next week. Next week. I don't have the date locked down now, so you're going to need to be listening and watching for that interview with George Noory and what he thinks about this latest treasure trove, if you want to call it that, of UFO documents that have been released. And again, keep in mind, there are still 46 photographs only members of Congress have seen, and they're not being released yet, but we're told they will be released shortly. What could be in them that they continue to hold them back? Some have suggested that there's enough evidence from whatever source and from wherever they originated that they contain weaponry which is so massive there's no way we could counter it if it were to be used against us. Which is probably why if you see a little green man, and especially if it's not on the Day of the Irish, but if you see one, you should, let's sit down and have a drink. Don't start picking a fight with him. You don't know what he's got in his little finger that could change you and your life forever. Well, of course, Chuck Norris could have dealt with him, but we've lost Chuck Norris. Or have we? Is Chuck Norris behind the UFOs? Did Chuck Norris meet the little green men and defeat all of them one by one? And now they're slaves to Chuck Norris, who has not really died. Those are just false stories you've been hearing. Larry, I think you got a little bit out over the edge there. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. But let your imagination run wild. Unfortunately, too many in our nation, and especially the uninformed, when they let their imagination run wild, they lose all relationship and connection to reality. Did I say they're crazy? No, I said they lose connection and relationship to reality. But, yeah, they might be crazy. Or am I the crazy one? I stop that. Those of you out there yelling yes, stop that right now. Do not do that. I won't serve up another softball question like that. Speaking of softball questions, you know, we used to do on a general basis when I was in TV, a story would break and we would decide we're going to do a man on the street. We're going to take this story, be it a local or a national, we're going to localize it. We're going to go out and just stop men and women on the street and ask them, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Sometimes you had to go through qualifying questions, like maybe it's going to be dealing with kids in St. Louis City School District were going to have to get certain vaccinations. So we'd go out and do a man on the street in downtown St. Louis, stopping someone. You have to go through a series of questions. Do you have a kid? No. Okay, well, there's no sense asking them that. Do you have a kid? Yes. Do they go to the St. Louis City School District? Yes. And then maybe you can ask that question, because you got to qualify if they can even answer, if they're valid. MSN Now decided the other day they were going to quote a man on the street in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, blue state, and a guy that owns a brewery that is going to run for the governor of Wisconsin, the same guy that said, the day Trump dies, we will provide free beer for everyone. That kind of guy says, I'm the one who can say, quote, democracy. Right. So they decided to send a camera crew out on the streets in Wisconsin, asking young people, but apparently close enough to vote or will be able to vote the next election if they haven't. And instead of asking them something that, do you believe in UFOs, they actually decided to raise a question, and the answer slapped them right back in the face.
How would you guys describe the Democratic Party right now?
Lost.
Incorrect.
Trying.
Confused.
I'll say struggling.
I would also say struggling.
Now, you could say MSN Now edited those remarks. Well, they were editing them anyway, only taking short answers from them, one-word type thing. But did they not have anyone that praised? Did they not have anyone that praised the Democrats? I would have thought that they would put at least one or two of those in to show some balance if they're trying to be balanced. I'm not saying they would. But in this case, apparently everyone they asked, or at least certainly the ones that they decided, MSN Now decided to put on the air, was degrading the Democrat Party. They found no support. None. Or did they find a lot of support and just decide, let's ignore the positive support for the Democrats and give this to the Republicans? I don't think they did that. I think they got the answer that was innate and authentic from those they were asking the question. What do you think of the Democrat Party? One word. Well, as that stated the other day and repeated earlier today in our previous program, Alan Dershowitz, longtime Democrat, professor of law emeritus from Harvard University, saying, I've been a Democrat for 70 years. I'm 87 now. I don't have the strength right now as I did when I was 47, but I'm going to use every bit of strength to oppose the Democrats. So if you were asking Alan Dershowitz, and again, going back to his statement, what do you think of the Democrats? His remark would be 3 words that sum everything up. I'm scared. They didn't include Dershowitz. That's why I added him for you. We'll be back Monday. Remember to please join us. Remember our pledge, one nation under God.